If you can't walk into a room and light an interview that looks natural and warm, you might be leaving paid work on the table. This is a real documentary interview that John Mount shot for a doc I'm directing. And in this video, we're going to take you behind the scenes, showing you exactly how we lit it step by step using a simple setup and kit that works in almost any room.
60% of the time, it works every time.
Recently, I was coaching a still photographer who was asking me how to break into video. He's been doing stills for 15 years, so he knows his way around a camera. And what I told him was this: if you can walk into any room and nail an interview, you can get hired immediately. I mean, there's like corporate work, documentary work, brand storytelling. This one skill is really the foundation of almost all of it. But people overcomplicate it. I mean, after John and I talked through what we wanted this to look like, John set this whole thing up in an hour and a half. And the answer is not more. It's usually less. In fact, it comes down to one decision that once I learned it, I couldn't unsee it. So I'm gonna get to that right after this 3-rule framework. One of my mentors described great interview lighting by saying that it should look like a painting you can hang on your wall, which sounds like really intimidating. And I think that interview lighting or lighting in general just has this mystique around it, but it's actually very simple. It just comes down to 3 things. It has one clear direction, a soft source, and separation between the subject and the background. That's the whole framework. And if you get those 3 things right, this works in almost every room you walk into. Now, before you set up a single light, you want to see where all the light is coming from. Unless you have the time and budget to black out every window, you'll want to work with what the room is already giving you. So John explains exactly what he's looking for when he first walks in.
The first thing I am searching for when I go and scout, and that's to see what the room looks like naturally and how I can consistently amplify the look of it naturally.
And that's when everything clicked for me. You're not fighting the room, you're reading it. And everything starts with committing to one side.
The room that we chose for these interviews, it was like already kind of working well naturally, where the sun was already kind of coming in on one side, just big open space.
Here's the concept that once you learn it, you can't unsee it. What do you notice about each one of these gorgeous interview setups? The main light source is all coming from one direction. Everything else is a bounce. That's what makes it feel real and, dare I say, cinematic. Sunlight's the prettiest light there is, and it only ever comes from one direction unless it's reflecting off something. What I love about this interview look is that it's very layered. All of it looks like the light is actually coming from the windows. It doesn't look like you created the lighting here.
Right. That's kind of how I approach it when I saw this space. Was just that it had that depth. It had the natural sunlight from the windows.
When the light's motivated, it feels like it could exist naturally, like it's coming from a window or the sun or something that makes sense in the room. The second you light from multiple directions, you start to lose that credibility. That's the difference between cinematic and looking lit. Many moons ago, when Darren was working primarily as a DP, I learned traditional 3-point lighting. There's a key, the fill, and the backlight. So we're still doing that here. The main difference is that to make it look real, the edge and the fill have to read as bounces from the sun, not as new light sources. So they have to be subtle. Now let's talk about the key light and how John got such a big soft source in a relatively small space. We love to use book lighting, which is essentially double diffusion. You basically bounce a strong source, which in this case is an aperture 600D, into some sort of a reflector. We used white muslin, the 6x6, and then it bounces back through diffusion, which creates a very large light source, making it really soft, and it almost wraps around the subject instead of hitting them directly.
The reason why I went with this is that because it's giving me a larger source, and not like a softbox where it's directional, I'm forcing it towards the subject. This is giving me a softer light, smaller footprint. Sometimes I'm working in tight spaces, so this is where this comes into play.
So if you have the space, this is almost always the move. If you don't, a softbox works, and you can, manipulate a softbox a little easier, but you're trading softness for a more directional hit. If you want to replicate this setup, down below we're linking all the lights that we use. Now, if you only had one light and no time, you could stop right here. With a nice background and some natural light coming through the windows, this could already look pretty good. Honestly, a well-placed book light alone puts you ahead of a lot of shooters. But there's a gap between a setup that looks okay and one that looks like this. It has nothing to do with adding more lights. John closed that gap with two things that cost almost nothing.
On the negative side, we have a small ounce. It's just a foam core 4x3 that I cut of just insulation foam from Home Depot.
So the most expensive equipment that you brought on the shoot?
Yeah, because I can use it to insulate my home after I'm done.
So that's it?
That's the exact one you saw in the video.
So how much does this thing cost total?
$28.
$28.
But for you, for now, 2 payments of $19.99.
That's the real lesson underneath this whole setup, is not about having more gear, it's about understanding what the gear is actually doing. Which brings us to negative fill. And this is what a lot of people get wrong. They try to fix lighting by just adding more light. Professionals shape light by taking it away. Do you use neg on just about every lighting scenario?
Yeah, use it to help shape light. That's in a number of ways, from controlling the fall off from the light source to creating streaks, just to add some contrast to faces. Regardless if you're just using one light or just natural light, you can use an egg just to help shape your talent.
Even if you're working entirely with natural light, a simple neg flag is one of the easiest ways to immediately level up your image and get some contrast. It costs almost nothing, and it changes everything about how a face reads on camera. The last piece is separation, and the key is to make it feel almost invisible. This room has a weird feature because it's essentially a renovated horse barn from the 1800s, and it has a false wall behind the subject. John used that false wall to hide a light stand with a small light, which is something most rooms won't give you, but the principle here still applies anywhere. So there's this very subtle edge here.
So that's just coming off of a combination of the window, which really isn't hitting him direct. What I have on that false wall overhead is what I placed a small Amaran 60 with a reflector that I calf the ends just to kind of give me a little bit of a streak instead of just shooting just wide. I wanted to kind of control that to hitting a little bit of the hooks and giving him a edge. So it looks like it's coming from the window, but really it's that overhead that's giving me that little edge. A window side, key side, they're all on the same side.
He also placed 2 Aperture 600Ds with Fresnel attachments outside the windows to push some dramatic streaks and add a little additional natural edging. In this specific room, we needed both because the false wall created 2 separate spaces that we needed to fill to sell the effect. But in a standard room, all you really need is one. This is a skill the clients actually pay for. Once you have a basic lighting kit and a clear way of thinking about a room, you could repeat this in almost any situation and just dial it into whatever situation you're in. And really turns clients into repeat clients. How's it look? If you want to see the same approach applied to a completely different room with a completely different set of challenges, including being like 6 stories up, we did a full breakdown on one of our most popular interview setups. Same principles, different problems to solve. I'll link that below. And now, I'll let John take us out. So the main takeaways are keep it simple.
Keep it simple. Don't overthink things. You can do a whole lot with less. And keep the direction to one side.
So the next time you walk into a room, start by asking where the light should be coming from, then commit to that side and build everything else around that. Keep it simple and keep it motivated. And if you like this video, you'll definitely like this one, I think, whatever YouTube chooses to put in that little box. But I'll see you there.